G'day, Navicastrians. Welcome back. It is A-League season eve and post Australia Cup final celebrations. We'll very quickly moving on from that to getting into the season regular and all the good stuff. So we thought we'd better come on and do a quick season preview, run the rule over what happened in that first piece of silverware for the season, and get our teeth stuck into the regular season, as it were. So welcome back to the Jetstream. I'm Ferns. I'm joined by two of my fellow contributors. First up, welcome back, Matt. How you going, mate?
Oh, fantastic, Ferns. Thank you for having me once again. 2 weeks in a row where this is like the start of a run.
Yep. Yeah, you've jinxed it now. We probably won't be able to get together to talk about the game next week. So
I'll do one by myself.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a big welcome back. First episode of the season for Ben, mate. Welcome.
Thank you. Glad to be back and to continue my on again, off again appearance.
Absolutely. How was your off season going?
Oh, look,
how
the
did
only
it go?
football I've been able to catch in the off season was the Broadmeadow Magic against Morton City on the weekend. But otherwise, every single Australia Cup game and every single friendly match has clashed with a significant family event that I've had going on. So
Yep.
I'm very keen for the season to start because that means I'll probably actually be able to get to watch some football.
Yep, absolutely. I know how you feel. Every single Australia Cup game clashed with work, and I'm guessing most of the games this season are going to do exactly the same thing because I'm working this weekend. And where are we going? We're going to Gosford. So yeah, it's pretty much standard. But yeah, we got together last time to preview an Australia Cup game, the Australia Cup final down there at Lakeside in Melbourne. Took place on Saturday, and last weekend, and we were all pretty confident. I sort of had a bit of trepidation as to how things would go, especially with how good Heidelberg had been going. But no, everything went swimmingly well, Ben.
Yeah, it was. Oh, look, let's be honest. The it would have been nice for it to have not gone into extra time, but I was cautiously optimistic at the start of the match. And Heidelberg went ahead, and I went, okay, here we go. We equalised, and my thought process was, okay, how are we going to mess this up? And we didn't. It was really quite a happy surprise or turn of events.
It was very unjets, wasn't it, Matt?
Mate, the final score was what I predicted. The way that it happened was almost sort of how I was thinking it in my head. Like I wasn't going to be surprised if we went behind to start the game, but yeah, that first 10 minutes they were all over us.
Yeah.
So it was almost like we weren't playing. Certainly wasn't expecting it to be that one-sided, and yeah, good result. I think that that month between the semis and the finals to get the extra training into our legs certainly did us had a lot of benefits, for a professional team.
Yeah, well, Ben, it was a pretty even game overall. Obviously, you just go with what happened with the scoreline, but you saw, like you said, Heidelberg go ahead after a period of sustained pressure, and everyone's thinking, what's going on here? Luckily we were able to come back and get a goal, but yeah, that sort of first goal was probably not unexpected, especially with the way the game was at that point in time.
No, and this I think was probably the big thing that stood out to me since Mark Milligan's come in was we would usually see us start to really get the wobbles or the shakes when we go behind that quickly in a match. And particularly under Robbie Stanton, what I noticed was whenever we went a goal down, that would often be followed by going down by a second goal or at least conceding some very, very big chances going against us. So it was, for me, it was really good to see that we were able to not crap the bed and go to pieces, but instead keep the fight up and see that fight sustain throughout the match, which is that level of grit and resilience is something I think has been missing from the Jets for a few years. So I'm glad that we were able to see that through in the biggest game of the season so far.
How did you see it, Matt?
The fact that we went behind didn't worry me so much this year. Like we've already proved that we can score goals. I think the big change from last year to this year is we don't park the bus. So once we actually get that goal buffer or that 2-goal buffer, we don't just sort of sit there and completely change the style of play that we've been implementing or what's actually got us to the positive result. And I knew Heidelberg were going to be tough, and I knew that in the first 20 minutes or so they were going to throw absolutely everything at us, and they did. No disrespect to Heidelberg, but I think at the end of the day, we probably controlled the majority of the match, and we were probably the deserved winners.
Yeah, absolutely. Now I'm just trying to get the stats up for this bloody game, and I'm not finding anything on the Australia Cup website, which is
It's probably being cleared for next year.
already. Starting lineup, we'll get into that. It was pretty much what we thought. Obviously, we were missing Battleado away for. He was away for the under 20s Socceroos, which unfortunately didn't end up going well. But Ben, was there pretty much the starting lineup pretty much as you thought?
Pretty much as I thought, and probably I think the big thing that really stood out was who was missing, and as far as our injuries go. So we were missing Shaughnessy, Clayton Taylor, and Eli Adams, and so without those three there, I was a little bit concerned about where the goals would come from and where the attacking play would come from. But I was really, really pleased with the contribution and the mind that a lot of the younger players had, and we'll probably get to that in a little bit. But when we started seeing some of those interchanges happening, so when Lockie Rose and Max Burgess came off, I was kind of like, oh gosh, Millsy, what are you doing? But yeah, I was again pleasantly surprised. We had a really, really good rotation between the older players and the younger players, and looking at the bench, you're thinking, okay, this isn't really a big game bench. Maybe we just aren't really looking at using many of those. But when push came to shove and Millsy called on the young boys, they really did step up, and I think that's something I'm looking forward to for the remainder of the season, is just how good are these young guys going to be.
So we started with, I'll give the starting lineup. We had Delinov in goals, Aquilina, Nata, Strushnar, Wilmering across the back line. Dobson on for a start with Burgess, Grozos and Mizanuma in the midfield, and Bertoncello and Rose. Obviously, we would have expected Max Cooper to start, Matt, but obviously he ended up coming down crook for the day before the game and wasn't recovered in time. That's got to be frustrating for a young player, especially given how well he's played.
Playing he's starting the last 4 matches and playing really, really well. Absolutely, probably his first chance of silverware as a, I'm going to say semi-professional, because I think he's still a scholarship player, but he should have been there, and he definitely would have been. So a lucky break for Nata, and especially when we were missing sort of Battleado as well, which had already sort of spoke about last pod. So there was going to be that hole in the midfield that was going to be fought over, and good on Will Dobson. I thought he played really well. for the time that he was on the pitch. I think Adams would have taken that spot if he was fit. There would have been the I guess the toss up between Adams and Bayliss.
Yep.
But I think it was probably like looking at the way Bayliss played, and certainly no slight on him, but I think fitness levels wise, and the intensity that Heidelberg brought in that first 20 minutes, it was probably good to have Dobson on, and he got to show a bit of his game maybe that we haven't seen. He was very, very good in like tight situations, and I'm expecting that he'll play like quite a big part like this season.
Absolutely. So we had a bit of a scare in the opening couple of minutes. Matt, penalty shout. That was probably never going to be something that was going to be given that early on in the game. But how did you see that?
I saw it as a pen. Popular or unpopular opinion, I thought it was a pen, and if that happens like this week, it will be a penalty. I'm not necessarily convinced that would have would have meant that Heidelberg would have gone 2 up, because I think that the Jets game certainly changed as soon as they went behind. It was like the slap to the face that they almost needed to start playing. Maybe a different story if they'd already scored that first one and the penalty happened in the 6th or 7th minute. But I thought it was a pretty average tackle, and that 9 times out of 10, like with VAR, are to be given.
Yeah, no VAR for this game, obviously. Was it, refresh my memory, was it Grozos that did that? Did the tackle?
It was.
Yeah, I thought it was. So I'm remembering the incident now. Ben, how did you remember the scare at 2 minutes in?
Yeah, I made the comment in the group chat. I think said, "Thank God we don't have VAR in this, because that would have been given any other day of the week." And I'm thankful that there wasn't VAR to go back and have a look at it. I think had we have gone 2-0 down at that stage, or not even at that stage, if we'd have ended up 2-0 down, I think we're looking at a very different game. We would have seen Heidelberg park the bus and make life very, very difficult for us. But thankfully, VAR isn't there for the Australia Cup, and the video referee didn't get another chance to screw us in a final. So you know what, I see that as what goes around comes around. May not have got one over the victory, but we got the rub of the green there against Heidelberg. So yeah, I'm saying I think it was a pen, and I'm thankful that VAR was not around to double check it.
So while they didn't get the penalty in the 2nd minute, they did put the ball in the back of net after the 8th minute, Matt.
Good goal too, and deserved on the way to possession. Can't remember the exact goal. Sorry, I haven't rewatched the game tonight.
Neither have I.
It's been about a week since. Yeah, it's been about a week since I have. But I rewatched it the week after the match. Like, wanted to sort of sit here at work while I could have something on in the background on the TV with no sound, and just bask in that glory. But it was expected. Like, it was with the weight of possession and the field position, etc. They had. It was set piece from a free kick, I think.
It's a header from the center of the box, and then went headed pass following a set piece situation. Yep.
Yeah. So it was almost a corner. It was from just outside the 18 to the back posts, headed back across to the tallest player on the pitch, and without pointing fingers, it was the guy that was on the post that probably let us down, who followed the ball rather than sticking to where he needed to. And unfortunately, again, that was Grozos. Just left his spot, and good goal, but it should have been defended. Let's put it that way.
And definitely a just reward, Ben, for a sustained period of momentum. I'm having a look at a momentum chart on the FOTMob website on this game, and it's all Heidelberg color for this section, and then right in the middle of it, they've got a goal.
Yeah, and all credit to the way Heidelberg set up for this match as well, because it was um, they knew. I think they kind of picked out where we were weak and set pieces. Um, Correct me if I'm wrong. We did concede off a. I think most of the goals we conceded so far in the Australia Cup, did they come from set pieces? I think it might have been close to 50-50. And we were, it's a definite weakness. And
Yeah.
Heidelberg, I think, made a good um, play. It really, that they ran a well run. Well, they clearly had a routine in mind when they went in for that. I don't think they pulled it off exactly, but it was definitely a um, a plan that came to fruition for them, and it was yeah. If you throw the penalty shout in there and then that goal, yeah, like Matt said, it was a slap in the face. I think the Jets needed to kind of wake up and get into it.
Have you seen, Matt, that sort of throughout this Australia Cup run we've tended to start slowly? Is that a criticism you could possibly level at the club at the team?
I think you can say it's a criticism, like with all variables taken into account, because we went behind against Adelaide. We always go behind against Adelaide. Um, we didn't concede versus Cooks Hill or MacArthur.
No.
Yeah, it was MacArthur, yeah.
Yeah.
And then we're ahead against Avondale. Like we were 2-0 up against Avondale and then let them back into the game. I would put that more down to pre-season and fitness. So I don't think it's anything that we necessarily have to worry about. I think it was probably just the occasion for Heidelberg, the fact that they were a month out from their season. It was the biggest stage that they're likely to play on, like for the year. And if they didn't overrun us in the first half, they probably weren't going to do it with stamina. So, like I said, it didn't surprise me. I thought we would concede at some point. I was very dubious that we would keep a clean sheet for the match, given the amount of goals and where they'd come from that team. So it didn't surprise me. It didn't necessarily worry me either that we'd gone one goal down. I thought we had the players on the pitch that could score a couple. It was more how we were playing, and we couldn't string two passes together until we started getting the ball to Max Burgess. He was the linchpin in that first half as far as keeping a cool head and controlling the ball and being able to actually find another player with a pass. So yeah, it didn't worry me, but I just think that for a young team, and we had a much younger average age than what the Heidelberg starting 11 did. Yeah, we just needed that time to adjust to the pace of the match and get into it.
Now, about 15 minutes in, before we get to us squaring the ledger, there was a penalty shout for us for a handball. Ben, does this strike your memory?
It does, and I think it was again borderline. It was one of those situations where I'm like, okay, I'm glad VAR isn't around because it would no doubt screw us on this. But
It wouldn't
I
have been turned
also
on. It wouldn't have been turned on.
no, that's right. They wouldn't have had the right angle. Or maybe someone's line would be incorrect or something something like that. But um, if it went our way, then I'd say, yep, fantastic. That was definitely a handball every day of the week. It went against us, and I just had this gut feel that it wasn't a big turning point in the match. It was, but it is one of those ones that when you do hear do see the Heidelberg comments coming in saying, "Oh, the Jets had the ref in their pocket." Rah, rah, rah. Like, well, actually, no. Hey, remember that handball?
Yeah.
And they tend to go quiet on that one. So, if the Heidelberg fans are kind of copying that one on the chin, maybe there was more to it. But yeah, at the time, I'd be honest and say I didn't really think there was that much in it, and I'm glad it wasn't a pivotal moment.
What about you, Matt? How'd you see it?
Probably the same. Like it was, if VAR was in the game and they didn't give the first one, then they probably wouldn't have given the second one. Like almost like a get square.
Yep.
But if they had given the first one, they probably would have given the handball shout as well. I can't remember now who hit the ball, but it was probably just outside the box or right on the 18. I've seen the replays now, and I'm like, yep, that's definitely a handball based on A-League rules with VAR. Glad it wasn't given, to be honest with you, because yeah, like when you're playing the game in its true spirit with just proper referees, I don't think they should be handballs. But yeah, I think once again, like 9 times out of 10, 8 times out of 10, if it was under a VAR match, then the ref would have been called to the sideline, and he probably would have overruled his decision.
Well, after that, 22nd minute, we ended up squaring the ledger up, and it was a great little effort from Max Burgess, Ben, assisted by Aquilina.
Yep, and a happy little deflection on the way in as well. Yeah, the really interesting thing for me is that if you go back about 3 to 4 passes before it even gets to Burgess, you can see him working his way into a little bit of space, and he kind of just hangs around that area. So I'm not sure if we had a game plan to kind of for him to move into that space and try something, or whether there was just a sixth sense among the players to for Burgess to get into that area and stick around. But gee, that was a cracking strike, and if it doesn't take the deflection, I think it's saved. So there is definitely a big hunk of luck sitting in there, and for us to get that goal in that way after the blatant handball shout that VAR would have rejected anyway, then
thanks for agreeing with me.
Yeah, it was a definite high point of the first half, and definitely just rewards for the work that we for the effort that we put in as well.
Yeah, and looking at the momentum, and I'm just sort of looking at the momentum graph. It's during a period of sustained momentum for us, and for most of the game, pretty much we were there's large sections where we had most of the possession and control. So you do see a few little periods where Heidelberg did get some of that momentum and possession back, but for the most part, after that early period and their goal, before you get into the swings and roundabouts of extra time, we controlled large portions of the game, and it ended up 64% possession to the Jets, 36% to Adelaide. So, I mean, as you would expect, Matt, the A-League team, the professional team versus the semi-pros, you're gonna expect them to control large portions of the match. But were you sort of concerned that maybe with all that possession we weren't able to convert it into goals, or were you sort of saying it was more we did eventually get the rewards for all the possession that we had, but were you sort of getting a little bit frustrated at times where we had so much of the possession but we weren't able to make it count on the scoreboard until later on?
Well, it seemed like it was a long 15 minutes, but it was only 15 minutes before we did. So Yeah and no. I thought we should have scored again. Like if we're talking about the whole game in general, yes, I thought we should have scored again before the 90 was out. In that first 15 though, I thought that they would have definitely still been right up for it. So it was good to see us actually stringing passes together, dominating possession, dominating field position, being able to put the press on. You could see sort of Lucky Rose directing traffic from the front of the pitch as far as where he wanted everyone else to go and to close down. I thought that was that the half an hour after they scored, we really put the strangled hold on them as far as how we're going to play and who the better team is. But the better team doesn't really mean much when it's still preseason and you've got one team that's still riding the high of winning the call it the NPL. It's the Victorian NPL, but still winning the NPL. Still not conceding a goal against like 4 A-League teams, and I agree that I don't necessarily think that Souza would have Souza, that's the keeper. Yeah. I don't necessarily agree that he would have saved it. It was a pretty good strike, but it certainly would have tested him. But he was moving the right direction at least. I think he would maybe move too far. Yeah, and just sorry, going back to the goal quickly, I think it was a definite ploy, given the height that they had with their two centre backs versus like our striker. Rose is a noted goal scorer with his head, and when you've got two guys that were well over 6 foot, sort of in the middle, it would have been silly to try and cross the ball to him, unless you're Coda.
Yep.
Yeah, which you can put it wherever you want. Yeah, it didn't surprise me. I wasn't worried. I thought we were playing our way well into the game, but as soon as we got that goal, I thought that was a bit of a turning point where we really started to, impose a bit of pressure and show our quality on the ball, and all of a sudden the initial adrenaline they would have gotten from their past wins and the fact that we were at home, etc., and us playing ourselves into the game, and fitness sort of starting to come into it, I guess, a little bit as well. It played out a lot like I thought it would, to be honest with you, fans.
Yeah, wasn't it? What that sort of question wasn't really meant as a criticism. Was more a devil's advocate / talking point than anything else. But yeah, Ben, the game after the equaliser for long stretches was not frustrating at all. It was a game played in good spirit. There was some good passages of play, especially from us. There was some great defending from their side of things that sort of kept the ball. I would probably describe it as a stalemate, but it wasn't one of those ones where everything was stifled and it was just a frustrating display. It was good. It was good football. It was an exciting match. It was played in the right spirit. And before we get into extra time, it was a worthy final match. Let's just summarize it by saying that.
Ben's muted.
You're still on mute, Ben.
Sorry. Yeah, it was one of those. It was my memories of watching it were very much that 45 minutes thinking in my head, don't mess this up, guys. Don't mess this up, guys. Just get the goal.
Yep.
Get the goal. Don't mess this up. Don't mess this up. And seeing us, kind of hit extra time, and once we hit that 90-minute mark, my brain just went, "Oh shit! Okay, this is what it's going to turn into." And then it went from "Please don't mess this up" to "Please don't go to penalties." And I think, you summed it up quite well in that it was a good game played within the spirit. There wasn't the usual nastiness that you would see from some other teams who would try and get a bit of an advantage by taking out players
The
or
Mariners, you can say it. The
really
Mariners.
hamming it up to the
You can say it. The Mariners.
Yeah, well, look, you said it, but not me. I was actually going to say Western Sydney, but
Accurate.
it was an interesting patch to play. Some good good football from a spectator's perspective, and then really kind of hanging out, going, okay, how's this going to play out as far as extra time goes, and just going, please don't send this to penalties. I don't think. If it went to penalties, I would have been a bit like about how's this going to play out. So,
I was sort of thinking it was going to that they were definitely hoping that they could hold us out and then get to penalties, because obviously then we all know penalties are a lottery, and I think that was probably their best chance of winning it, was to be able to do what they done to 4 other A-League teams and stop us scoring. So that was, I think, a definite game plan, and all props to the way Johnny A set their team up and how they played the game. They've got some great. I mean, looking across some of their players. Basetto was really good. Lesiotis, Buljuach had some bustling runs, although maybe might benefit from being a full-time professional forward rather than a semi-pro, might end up sharpening his strike rate. But they've got some really good players in that team who wouldn't look out of place in an A-League team. Lethlean, their captain, and centre back would step into an A-League defensive line fairly well, I think, and stand up and be counted and not look out of place.
Oh, Basetto definitely. Whether he was just playing up for his dad or whatever the case was, that he had an absolute blinder. Lesiotis, like you mentioned, he played really, really well. I'd take him in a heartbeat as far as our holding six goes. Was he at Victory a few years ago? Or is that a different Lesiotis?
I'm just trying to find.
There was definitely another Lesiotis that.
It was him.
It was him at Victory?
Yeah. So he went overseas and didn't make it and then came back. No, he gun. Like he was really, really good. Juach was very well marshalled by Sushnja. And like he's still obviously got a lot of talent. There was one chance we had the breakaway and he beat the offside trap and he outpaced the rest of his team and put the ball across. And their little Japanese guy as well. He seemed quite tidy on the ball. Like whether or not he's necessarily good enough to play A-League is right on the cusp of it though. Like we've definitely had worse players in our starting lineup.
Yep.
Compared to that. What is it? Yokokawa.
Yeah, Yokokawa.
Yeah. He was quite good as well. So it's not like there's a massive like step down between like the best in the NPL versus like if you compare us to last year, like the average in the A-League, saying it nicely. There's definitely players there that could make the jump. It's just whether they've had the pathway or the opportunity or like the agent, like whatever the case is. Like we weren't lucky. But they definitely they put up a really, really good fight and they made the match a really, really good spectacle. I was worried about penalties on like when Rose came off, when Bertoncello came off, when Dobson came off. When not necessarily Dobson, but I've never seen him take a pen, but Burgess, Mizunuma, they all came off. Especially the Burgess sub, but this is us criticizing Millsy when he sees these guys every week at training, and obviously he went out with the mindset of winning it in extra time, and it paid dividends.
Yeah, absolutely. Was there any players you wanted to highlight, Ben, before we get into talking about extra time? I thought going back to the players that were on the pitch before we talk about subs, again, we can wax lyrical about Burgess. He ended up getting the player of the final award, which was well deserved. But like Matt said, some good performances from Dobson, Bertoncello, and I thought Coda and Aquilina, their partnership on that right hand side is going to be key for us this season.
Yeah, and I think looking at the Heidelberg team, Joash was definitely, for me, their standout, and there were a number of players who would not look out of place in an A-League jersey. From our own players, I would have loved to have seen Lockie Rose out there longer. I know he always seems to get subbed around the 70-minute mark, and I'm not 100% sure whether he's just out of legs or whether,
Managing, maybe.
yeah, coaches just think he needs to, yeah, that needs to switch things up. But I would have really liked to have seen him play the full 90. I think he would have added a bit more into our attack there. But other,
Just to jump in, are you think
yeah,
we ever going to see a Rose Gibson partnership up front? We did talk about it quite a bit last season, with and Stanton only ever did it once or twice from memory, and I think injuries might have had quite a bit to do with that for both of them. But are we ever going to see, or are we going to see this season a Rose and Gibson partnership from the start, or do you think he's going to continue playing one or the other and partnering with Battleado / Bertoncello?
I'd love to see that combo. I'm a big fan of two strikers up top because I think it gives us a bit more um, punch and guts um, in the forward third. That being said, I know it's out of fashion for a lot of coaches these days, so I'm not optimistic that we will see it as a regular feature. But that being said, I would, if Millsy listens to this, and please give it a crack. Let's see how it goes.
Matt, you reckon we're going to see a Gibson Rose partnership from the start that we've been begging for most of last season?
It would be beautiful, wouldn't it? Especially the way that they both press and they're both so active, and Lockie's so good at getting behind the line. Ben's so good, as he showed, as far as the quick turns right on the last man. Would absolutely love it. I'm just not sure that we've necessarily got the personnel in the midfield to make it work. You'd really need to play like a diamond in the center, I think. And yeah, we've probably got Maxi that could play that sort of 10 role just behind the two, but who would play out wide? Coda's a great player, but he's 35, 36. He doesn't necessarily have the engine that we need. The other guys that you could sort of put in there, like Bertoncello's more attacking. Battleado maybe.
Taylor?
Yeah. Clayton Taylor, if he ever comes back. Eli Adams has not necessarily got the defensive side to his game. Taylor, we've seen play deeper. The real worry for me is 6, like as far as who plays the screener. I don't think we've got the strength in the squad at the moment to play a single player just as that one screener in front of a back four, which is what you'd need to do.
What about Costa?
I think Costa's best position is probably playing as a centre back, and I don't think he's our best centre back. So, yeah.
Fair. All right. Well, that was a
Costa,
keep going. Yep.
yeah, I want to keep. I don't want to bag on the player, but like when he seems to be playing midfield, he seems to take an extra 2 or 3 seconds on the ball. What a really, really good holder would do. You go back to UG or someone like that, and they'd receive the ball and they'd just play it straight off. If they were under any kind of pressure, they'd just play it back in the same direction that they were facing. And Costa doesn't seem to want to do that, or at least it's not in his game yet. Millsy obviously played that position a lot, like especially during his international career. Not for us, but as he got older, 25 plus, that was sort of where he made his mark, and maybe he's the one that can actually sort of improve Costa, like as far as his decision making and like being a little bit more fleet of foot. But I just feel like Costa at the moment wants to turn, and he's got this thing that he has to play every ball forward. And as much as you'd love to see that holding midfield player play every forward, sometimes you can't. You just got to like bounce it back to the direction that it came and find another space. And yeah, I think it's a deficit in our squad at the moment that, and we still need two covering midfielders. Like as much as Burgess is probably more a 10 and an attacking player, in that first half he was getting his most joy and like more of the ball when he was probably dropping right into the middle of the pitch, which is like deeper than what he'd necessarily like, or where I would like to see him picking the ball up. And until we can cover that, I don't think we can cover having two strikers. Like it'd be great if we were pronouncing every team when we had 90% possession or 70% possession, but especially in that first 10 minutes, where we're a little bit exposed, I think we need more steel in the middle of the park, and we need the more legs, like in the midfield, to cover some deficiencies maybe that we've got at the moment. So yeah, I can't see it at the moment. I think that the two of them will interchange. I thought that Gibson certainly showed his talents in that like cameo that he had. He was really, really good at picking the ball up and making the turns and laying the ball off. And I thought Rose was really, really good as far as getting us back in the game and providing that leadership that we really needed in that first sort of 20 minutes. So I couldn't pick between the two of them at the moment. They both fulfill slightly different roles, but yeah, it's going to be interesting to see which way that the coach goes over the next couple of games. Ben's obviously ahead as far as goals scored over the last couple of matches. Lockie's probably head and shoulders ahead, shoulders, like not just relating to the hair either, but head and shoulders ahead as far as just providing that leadership that maybe a younger team needs.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that was an interesting little side journey, but we'll get back into finishing off talking about the match. And Ben, obviously, like I said, extra time. We were sort of little bit of trepidation as to what was going to happen in extra time, and we were hoping it wasn't going to penalties. But it didn't take long for young Oscar Fryer to announce his return after being out of the game for so long. Like it was so much. It was exciting when he first signed last year, and then getting that injury, putting him out for a full 12 months. So it's great to see him make his way back and score a really good goal in the 96th minute.
100%. I was actually, when he first kicked it in, I had to do a double take because I thought Eli Adams had come back on, just the way that he controlled the ball and found himself in space. And that strike, that's the one part of the final I've watched again and again and again, just how clean it's come off his boot. And yeah, it was just such a rocket into the top corner. I was yeah, stoked, and I jumped up and yelled when when that went in, and I really annoyed everyone else I was staying with because I was in a holiday house with my extended family, and so when that went in, I got a big shh come from the bedroom next door, but it was yeah, just the way in which he got the ball, found a modicum of space, and the speed at which he shot through. I'm really, really keen to see him coming off Eli Adams and working in tandem with him. Um, yeah, I can't remember whether he's the left or right side of the field now, but um, yeah, coming down that side, I think
He's a left, so same as Adams.
yep. Well, see, in my perfect world, I'd be playing Adams centrally, or have Adams sit a little bit more in the
Instead of
centre. I
Burgess.
think having yeah, Oscar Fryer coming off, well, even Burgess as well would be yeah, that'd be a killer combo, and that's one of the big things I'm looking forward to in seeing how he takes shape this season is how well does Oscar come off our attacking mids.
What do you think of the goal, Matt?
Cracker. Absolute cracker. He got a little bit lucky maybe with the first touch. I think he tried to cut it back in and it hit one of the opposition players and then ran down to the corner. But after that, he absolutely did. Was it Fulton that was playing their left back?
Yes. Let's go with that.
Yeah, I mean, he absolutely did him. Like did him on the byline, cut back in, and that it was a classic Eli Adams goal. It he hadn't had the best start to the game. Like I'll say that. Defensively, like I think in our half, it maybe had a couple of misplaced passes, and I was like, oh, geez, like this is going to go to penalties. But yeah, like, it's got a squad that is very much centre backs and or back line and front line at the moment, and like he's obviously proved that he's good enough at the front line. Like really good. And the other one that we haven't spoken about yet, but I'm sure I'll just give you the segue. Ferns as Nunes sort of coming on as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
But the two of those substitutions, which I wasn't dubious on because like we needed legs at the time, and who else did you have on the bench? But yeah, the two of them played really well out of their skin, especially for their age. And Fryer, given that he'd had a year off, like I can't remember 12 months ago, but we might have made a couple of jokes about him being the new Ben Kanorowski or whatever the case was. But the guy's come back and good on him. Like, he's young enough, he's good enough. Like, let's hope he makes a fist of it.
Yeah, absolutely. The rehab cycle has the rehab exercise bicycle has come through for Oscar Fryer. So, yeah, absolutely. Now look, the some good performances in that extra time period, like Matt just mentioned. Ben, was there anyone else you wanted to highlight before we got into the second goal and basically wrapping it all up? We saw Bracco, Bayliss did come on, and like we said, Gibson and Fryer as well. So we did end up seeing. Did we see all? I think we saw they put on basically subbed everybody on. Is he muted again?
I've lost you.
Oh, I dropped out, did I?
Lost your phones for about the last 30 seconds.
All right. I'm still recording. Can you still hear me?
Okay, yeah, no, you got you back now.
I'm not quite sure what's going on there.
Re-ask that question to Ben because I lost you. Sorry.
So I dropped out for both yet. That's all right. Well, we don't do any edits in this, so it's all going in. Yeah, Ben, I was just talking about the other substitutes that we saw. Was there anyone else you wanted to highlight before we got into talking about the third goal?
I got to point out Nunes. I think he. Correct me if I'm wrong. Who was it? There was someone injured who came off, and he was kind of like the last man left on the bench. And I think even in the commentary, Danny McBreen kind of went, the Jets are desperate. They're exhausting their bench now with Nunes. And I kind of saw the same thing going, well, where on earth is he going to play? Because he's an attacking player, and I think it was one of our defenders who needed to come off. And I don't know whether or not he had a set position that he was supposed to be covering, because he was cropping up everywhere. It was like a little Jack Russell chasing after the ball. And I remember just before the third goal went in, I thought to myself, well, hang on. Is he going to be able to stand and take a penalty? Because I don't think he actually stopped chasing the ball the entire time he was on the park. But
Like
again,
one of
that
those
means
little
I put him in the
terriers that
same
runs around the
category as
park.
Oscar Prime.
It's like one of those little terriers that runs around the park chasing after the ball all afternoon.
Yeah,
like a particular one that played for Central Coast.
Yeah, he was. I think Fryer, Nunes and Fryer for me were the two standout players, and they're the ones who I'm really excited to see. How does that play out over the course of this season coming up? Because I think we've got two very special players there, and if they can keep it up, then yeah, we're up for a good season.
Well, there has been quite a bit of hype around Nunes coming out of the academy and into the senior squad. So it's not new, but they've definitely been very cautious in how they've integrated him into the team, because he's only really sort of come in. Like Robbie Stanton barely used him last season. I think maybe a couple of subs appearances was all she wrote. But it seems, Matt, that Milligan's going to be using quite a few of these scholarship players more regularly, and that can only be good. It'll probably cause some short-term pain, as we saw when teams flood their teams with or their lineups with very young players. It sort of it tends to harm consistency and results over the short term, but over the long term, I mean, you saw it with Central Coast down the road. They went through quite a long period of fallow seasons when all they had to play with the youngsters, and they ended up unfortunately winning a couple of trophies out of it down the line.
Yeah, they obviously need time to adjust and get up to speed, and like all the other
cliches.
There's a lot that you can say about it, but Nunes got played, I think, in pre-season last year as well.
Yeah.
He was blooded by Stanton, and then we didn't see him even in the squads for the whole A-League season. I think Nunes might have came on for Coda, but I think, and it might have been I can't even say his name, Scalana that came on for Wilmering that you're thinking of, Ben.
It was Wilmering who came off.
Yeah, with an attacker, but Nunes was brilliant. For the time that he was on, he was a lot more physical this year, and he's obviously growing into his body as far as strength and all the rest of it. There was that one opportunity that he had where I'm still not convinced that it was a shot. I think it was I think he had tried to pass the ball to Gibson, but with the defender closing him down, he just sort of put it into the space that he could, and Gibson couldn't quite get there to slide in at the back post. That would have been another great goal and put the game to bed earlier. As far as bringing young players on, I really hope this continues through the whole season. Millsy said 6 weeks ago that he wanted more academy players and he wanted more scholarship players, and the way the league's going as far as salary caps and the rest of it, there's not that big a difference between someone that's 18 and 19, 17 and 18 to someone that's 23 and 24 and has been around the league for a few years and hasn't made the jump to Europe. This is how our league is going to go. if we can hold a player from 18 to 23 or even 22, 21, and then they go overseas, they're probably a really, really good player. And that's when you're going to win competitions rather than having people that are needing that average age of 26, 27, like most of the championship teams have had over the last couple of years. I've got the feeling that we're going to see a lot more young players like playing first team football regularly. I've got the feeling that we're going to see a lot more transfers, but not necessarily within the league. I think a lot of that'll be cut out because of the lower salary caps, and people will be looking for the next best thing. Like Adelaide have done it really well, obviously, over the last couple of years. Central Coast have done it really well over the last 10. I think it's time that we started looking more in our backyard. And if it's not our backyard, the slightly wider backyard, like Port Macquarie through to Sydney, and giving these guys a chance. And yeah, it's sort of shown that it pays dividends.
Yeah, absolutely. And then we've seen that picking up younger players from Sydney, Western Sydney, and Bulls, and some of the other players that we picked up from around the traps, they've turned out pretty well for us. We better finish talking about this game because we've been going on for a fair while now. So Ben, before we talk about the goal, there was 2 red cards within pretty quick succession. One for Costa Grozos for just a pretty silly foul that sort of needed to be made, but you sort of really make that foul to get a yellow, not to really get a second yellow. And then I'm pretty sure the second player, which one was it? Apostolopoulos, had not been long on the pitch, and he ended up getting marched about 30 seconds later. So luckily the man disadvantage didn't end up being a disadvantage for too long.
I got to say, I'm glad that Grozos copped the second yellow for the tackle, because I would have given him a straight red for that haircut. It's like seriously, when he got sent off, his hair was in exactly the same position as it was when he started the match. I want to know who his stylist is, how he kept it like that, because that's a formula that needs to be sold, and I think he's got a great career there. That being said, it was a dumb tackle. I don't think it was a tackle that Grozos needed to make. There was adequate coverage there. There were other ways he could have got there. I just wonder, was he just mentally fatigued and went, okay, this is the easiest solution for me. I'm just going to try tackling like this, and then, oh crap, I've already got that yellow. And that was his night over. And by the same token, Apos's red, I was so glad it was a red, but I don't think it was a red. I think that was a yellow, definitely warranting a card, probably a yellow. I felt that, the referee probably felt that he needed to do something to even the match up a little bit, recognizing that, crap, I've just sent off the Jets captain with a second yellow. I'm going to have to come down hard on the next one. Nope, that's for the other team. That's good. That's a red. There we are. Problem solved. So, yeah, look, in both cases, I think added a little bit of drama, a little bit of spice, but very glad that it didn't impact the overall result.
If it was, if Costa got sent off when we were 2-1 up, not 3-1 up, I would have been a lot more angry with him. There was 7 minutes to go or something in extra time when he got sent, and I thought at 3-1 we probably could have held it. But yeah, agreed on your comments on the red for the Heidelberg player. That was a bit harsh, but it was probably also making up for the late challenge that happened on Lockie Rose in the first half, where he was maybe last man. Like that might have been left lean or something in the first half. It was on a bit by commentary. I know Daniel McBreen definitely mentioned it a few times that if it was an attacker doing that to a defender, it would have been a card. But and Leflin, I think, was already on a card like by that stage. So yeah, it maybe evened itself all up, but I thought it was really harsh on the it just literally just come onto the pitch for Heidelberg. Like I don't think it was straight red necessarily. And congrats on the pronunciation there, Ferns. You wouldn't have been able to do that without a Apostolopoulos playing for us a couple of years ago.
Yeah. Well, that's why we never called him that. We always called him Stammer.
AP.
Yeah,
Little
anyway.
Stammer.
Yeah, Stammer. Right, so that then led to a goal which sealed the game in the 115th minute, and the aforementioned Gibson/Nunez access that we were talking about a little bit before came to fruition in this passing move, and really good goal from Gibson, and it basically, as soon as that ball went in the net, after the cheering died down across the area, you could also hear the collective sigh of relief, going, "Oh, thank God, I think this is pretty much a lock now, and we can celebrate. We don't have to be on tenterhooks for the next 10 minutes, waiting for the full time whistle, thinking we're going to stuff this up." So Ben, really good, really good goal.
My bad. Sorry, it was 2-1 up.
Yeah, we were 2-1 up. We scored after the 2 red cards.
Yep, and I'll be honest, I did actually half expect us to stuff it up, but I'd seen enough grit in the squad and in the team to date to give me that modicum of confidence that, okay, maybe we will actually pull this off. And I think Heidelberg did actually get another shot off after we'd put in the third, and it was handled fairly comfortably. And once that was settled, it's kind of took a big sigh of relief. Like, okay, I think we've got a new level of resilience within the squad now, where we won't crap ourselves in a situation like this in a big match. And I think that's probably the thing that gives me the most confidence coming into this season, is the fact that we were able to hang on to a 3-1 lead with a man, with our captain off the field. And it was a big match with a very youth-driven squad. And so thinking about that kind of gets me feeling a little bit more confident about this season coming up, because in previous years, I don't think we had the resilience in us to be able to survive a cup final in extra time.
Yep, excellent summation, Matt. Your final thoughts on the game?
There were a few hard in mouth moments. I thought the better team won on the day. I thought that the losing team were rightfully angry about some of the decisions that were made that may or may not have had like influences, but during the whole thing, especially after that first 5 minutes, I was pretty confident that we were going to walk away with the win.
Yeah, there was a little bit of fume online from various ex-NSL types whinging about favoritism and all that sort of thing, but yeah, I didn't really allow that to harsh my buzz. It was it was definitely exciting, and like I put up on the after a couple of days, unfortunately I wasn't able to be Johnny on the spot with the socials because I was working night shifts over that weekend. So I put a congratulatory post up on the Jetstream socials over the after my weekend night shifts were finished, and like I said, extra special credit's got to go for Heidelberg for what they had accomplished over the course of their cup run and their performance in the finals. And yeah, Johnny needs to find an A-League gig pretty shortly, but hopefully not that mob down the road. I think that might be going to someone else, but we'll move to that in a second. But yeah, congratulations to the club, the supporters, especially those supporters that jumped on a bus at 4:30 a.m. to drive down experience the game, and then back on a bus an hour later to drive back to Newcastle. That was an odyssey, and was definitely helped. I think the trip home would definitely have been helped by the fact that we won. I wouldn't like to have been on that bus if we'd have lost. But yeah, congratulations to staff, players, behind the scenes, coaches, people in the office, everyone associated deserves congratulations, especially with a long trophy drought. 17 years since the 2008 grand final, and 2018, obviously our last appearance in a final. We all know how well that went. I'm just happy we were able to get the chocolates in this one. Anyway, we move swiftly on from the silverware into the nuts and bolts of the A-League season. About to kick underway this weekend. Sunday sees the Jets travelling down to a fairly unsettled club of in Gosford. Central Coast not having a fun time of it. They're where we were a couple of seasons ago at the moment. It's a 3 p.m. kickoff from Central Coast Stadium. Again, the scheduling gods have ruined me. I'm working this weekend, so we'll be unable to attend. But yeah, there should be especially with the cup final triumph, you would expect there would be a decent travelling away support for this first up match. And it's good to see we're put on the prime time telecast period of 3 p.m. on a Sunday, but we'll leave that aside for a sec. Matt, looking at this game and looking at the players that we have got on the books but not necessarily available, are we seeing any news as to whether the players that were unavailable for the final are going to be in contention for this match? I've been at work the last couple of days, so I haven't seen any of the NBN news clips, but are we expecting any availability for players along the lines of Taylor and Adams and Shaughnessy?
The only one that I would expect that would definitely be available would be Cooper. Otherwise, they're going to be very, very thin. I haven't seen anything on the news though, Fern. So yeah, he's probably the only one that Battolado's back as well.
Yeah, Battolado's back. That's true.
Yeah, so Battlado and Cooper are the two that I think that will probably come into the starting lineup based on their appearances in preseason. But it's a completely different game when you go to full professional. So
yeah.
And it'd be very hard not to give Dobson another start or and take it off Natta. So I'm 50-50 on those two, but they're the two that I'd pick. I think he'll still start Lockie Rose.
Got any inside info there, Ben? You know how these injuries are tracking with these other players?
Shaughnessy is not available, and Eli Adams is still unavailable. I think Clayton Taylor might be 50-50, and Max Cooper will definitely be back, but the rest are all still, as per the final love, and we know James out for the season as well.
Yep, unfortunately. So like we said, Cooper and Battlado being available. Ben, were you going to make any changes to the starting lineup from the Cup final, or were you going to look to make some changes for this?
If Clayton Taylor is available, I'd probably move him onto the bench. I don't know who instead of though. But that being said, I think stick mostly with what we've got in the from the Cup final, keep that momentum and that core group going, and hopefully pull off a similar result. I'm thinking that, with Central Coast being unsettled and Warren Moon stepping into that interim role, they're either going to be completely fragile and fall apart and will have a very comfortable win, or they will have a very big siege mentality and it's going to be a derby arm wrestle. I can't see us losing by a lot, but I'm also thinking, if we run out with the same team that we took up against Heidelberg, hopefully that momentum will carry on.
Obviously, Matt, we've seen a lot of. I don't know if you've seen all the stuff going on with Central Coast in the off season, but yeah, they've lost their coach. Their owner wants to get rid of them. Um, are they being bankrolled by someone else? I'm just trying to think.
The
Haven't
club
seen anything about bankrolled.
My understanding is that they're being bankrolled by the owners of Sydney Olympic.
That's what I was. Yep, that's what
There
I
you
was.
go.
That was what I was alluding to. Currently, because the current owner doesn't want to be involved anymore. And the interesting
Maybe you should just
development.
talk to Ben.
Interesting. Well, Ben, you might be able to shed a bit of light on the interesting news that come up today with Damien Zane leaving the club and has been heavily rumoured to be taking over down that club, which would be frustrating from a Jet side of things because I would have hoped eventually he'd be stepping into the Jets' hot seat, but he might be looking for. Well, he's looking at his options, and it sounds like the reason he's left the Jets, according to the newspaper articles I've read, was a contract expiry. And if they haven't signed a new one, that generally leads me to believe that they couldn't come to an agreement on his salary for the new contract.
Yeah. Um, I've heard a couple of different rumors, and again, stress these are rumors. One does have him linked with Central Coast, but that being said, um, the counter rumor I heard was, yeah, but Central Coast is such a shit show, and he had his fingers burnt in the times that he stepped in to help out the Jets when we were a complete shit show.
Yeah.
And that's not necessarily the environment he wants to start a permanent A League gig in. And that the other rumor is that he's stepping into a head coach in an NPL squad. So there's a couple of different rumors kicking around. Honestly, I don't think he would look at a place as a head coach, whether or not that's at the down the dodgy side of the M1, or whether we see him crop up in the local NPL remains to be seen. I hope it's the NPL because I think that's going to be the best environment for him. But no, stranger things have happened. So let's see how that plays out. But I'm thinking, yeah, tough times for the Mariners, and hopefully they can kind of get their act together because it seems that if it's not one club, it's the Mariners when it comes to drama at the A League.
Yeah.
There's a job at Avondale, I've heard.
Yeah, well, he was leaving.
Too.
Yeah. That would be interesting. And speaking of NPL coaches being available, I'm surprised that Johnny A's not being touted. Is his name being mentioned in connection with the Mariners? I'd hate it if he went there, but it'd be a good opportunity for him. But again, similar to what you said with Damien, why would you want to walk into that shit fight not knowing what money you've got to spend and all the other stuff that's going on around there? We've been through this in the last couple of seasons with the Jets, so we know it's very difficult to find somebody of quality until you have stability.
Yeah, that's right. And from what I've gathered, again, just keeping an ear to the grapevine that is social media and WhatsApp groups, Johnny A's name has come up in Paris Mariners, and it's come quickly from a couple of folk I know who are in and around Heidelberg saying not until they've got their ownership sorted. So I don't think he'll pop up there in the next month or two, but once they do have settled ownership and an owner who's willing to pump some money back into the club, could be a different story.
I was hearing on one of the, I can't remember if it was the Aussies Abroad podcast or Roundball Australia, but one of them was talking about Hutcho making a return in a coaching role. I think he's
Yeah, I've
still
heard
over in
that too.
still
I'm
over in
not.
Japan.
Nah, I'm here.
Can you hear me?
I can hear.
Yep, righto.
I
Yeah.
was just saying I'm here.
Ah,
If you're
righto.
talking about me, not Joe.
Yeah. Well, that was directed at
No,
anybody.
no interest. Sorry.
Yeah, you don't care.
No, I've got no interest in the job.
Yeah, well, okay, I get you now. Sorry, I was wondering what the hell was going on. I'm just going to quickly type in and find out where he is. Where is he currently? Ugh. Even just looking at his face when it comes up on a. He's a head coach of J2 League, Jubilo Iwata. Currently,
He can stay there.
well, I mean, he might want to come home, but just a question of whether he wants to leave. Because I thought he was at a J1 club. He was at Yokohama, as in a caretaker role. It must have been before Muscat took over. But anyway, so yeah, they're in a state of disarray. We're not going to really worry about. I don't really want to get into. I mean, we've been going for an hour and 15 so far. So I mean, we could dive into talking about what players they have and all that other gear, but I don't think we'll worry about them. What we will talk about are the players that we've got available. We've talked about them. Looking at some, I'm just going. There's a couple of other scholarship players that we haven't really touched on. So we in the off season we lost Ingham, Talon, Timmins, Canchar, Scott, Monbois, Vidic, Bowling, Dowson, Scuss, and all the players that we've mentioned before. So Delianov, Burgess, Shaughnessy, Battleado, Bertoloso, Bertolicio, Cicluna, Bracco, Nassip was, I think, announced just before the final. Bertoncello, Cooper, Richard, and Como. And did Zach Bowling come back in? I thought we had a different.
No, he's still at Broadmeadow.
Yep. Well, I've got him down on transfer market as an incoming, but maybe he was. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, he's not coming back.
He's not coming back. Righto. So look, quite a few options there. We've mentioned the players that were out. We've mentioned the starting 11. No one was too keen to do too much tinkering with what we started the final with. Central Coast are in disarray. Probably pretty much sums up all we can talk about with this game, I think, other than to say hopefully we can go out with a renewed confidence in this sort of game. It's not really a game, this sort of match is not really something we've traditionally excelled at. Traveling away is not a great experience for for Jets fans. There's been some really good results, but I'm thinking it's probably not going to be an 8-0 this time around, unfortunately. But pretty not. I'm just having a look at the Bet365 has us at $2 to the win. Central Coast $3.25 for the win and $3.70 for a draw. So let me just see if I can find some head to head. Actually, what I will do is I'll go into the forums and have a look at the stats that Stat Steady Dave has put up. Yeah, let's get into it.
I think we'd definitely have to be favourites coming into this.
You'd think so, but
And deserved.
again, knowing what's happened. So looking at the fixture facts in the match thread, overall, 65 fixtures between these teams. 20 wins for the Jets, 26 wins for the Mariners, 19 draws. In Gosford, we've played 32 times. The Jets have won 8 of those. The Mariners have won 14, and there's been 10 draws. Interesting to see. The last fixture was match day 23, which was a 6-0.
They seem to be getting smacked in their pre-seasons as well.
Well, I mean, we've seen with our destabilizing periods that preseason never really ended up too good for us either. So, yeah, that doesn't seem. I must have missed that game. But I can't remember that last game being 6-0 at home. It was the last time we played them at the end of the last season.
Sorry, I just lost you there for a second, Ferns.
You got me?
Yeah, I've got you back now.
Yep.
It certainly can't help. Doesn't look like they've scored a goal in their last couple of matches. From what I can see online, because I'm the avid supporter. They lost to Wellington. They lost to Brisbane. In friendlies since they were knocked out of the cup. So yeah, I think everything's pointing towards us at least going down there. I can't see it being one-sided because it is first match of the season and it's a derby, but I think everything's pointing to us, coming out with a win.
What are your thoughts, Ben?
Yeah, we should well and truly be favourites for this. I'm predicting a Jets win. I wouldn't necessarily bet my house on it, but I'm feeling quite confident coming into this one. The catch for me is whether or not what our mentality, what the mentality of the Mariners will be, and
Drink boats.
how Warren Moon sets them up. So, are they going to be fragile? Are they going to be in a siege mentality? I think that's the first 20 minutes are going to be a big indicator. If we get a couple of goals in the first half, I can see us running away with the match, and it'll be more akin to a cricket score than a football score. But that being said, if it's arm wrestle up until halftime, it'll be a much tighter affair, and then we start getting into squeaky bum territory.
Yeah. Right. So, Matt, you've set up a little internal tipping competition just amongst the Jetstream contributors that we're going to be plugging our tips into each week. So we'll make that a part of the end of each episode to give our tips, and then you'll be able to provide an update when you're on as to who's winning and who's losing and how that's all going. But thanks for setting that up. And what's your tip for this match?
Oh, it's definitely a Jets win, 4-0.
I'm tipping
as much as it's not picking the score, it's win, lose or draw. But yeah, definitely the Jets for this one.
We've got a new sense of optimism this season, especially with how everything's gone. So I'm going to start tipping. I'm not going to tip scores, but I will start tipping us for a win. And I'm going to be doing it in this game. I think the Jets will win over the Mariners. I'm not going to give a score, but anyway, Ben?
Yeah, I'll definitely Jets win. I'll say there will be at least 3 goals scored in this match. I hope it's 3-0 Jets. But that being said, I'd be happy with 2-1.
I'm just hoping for a solid performance and domination would be nice.
Football's a winner.
Yeah, absolutely. And by that I mean Central Coast not winning. Right, so round 1 kicks off in Adelaide Friday night, 17th of October, 7 p.m. kickoff. Is Adelaide hosting Sydney FC? Matt, I'm going to pick Sydney.
Sorry, Ferns, I've lost you.
You lost me again?
Yeah, I'm getting the same, Ferns. I know you're talking about Adelaide versus Sydney, though. This was a really tough one to pick for me. So I was going to pick Adelaide, and then I ended up going with the draw. As as much as Sydney was shit last year, I don't think they'll have 2 shit seasons in a row. So I've gone with a draw.
I've picked Sydney. Ben?
I've picked Sydney. If we think if we're talking the shit show stakes here, then Central Coast Mariners at the moment are the definite winners, but Adelaide are second place. They are still quite a bit of a shambles, and I can't see any result other than Sydney.
I'm pretty sure the shit show trifecta is Central Coast, Adelaide, and then Brisbane in the next game. But we'll get to that. We'll get to that now. They're hosting Macarthur. I don't know why there's a 9 o'clock kickoff on a Friday night, but they've front stacked the draw. Brisbane versus Macarthur. Brisbane versus Macarthur at Suncorp. I am picking Macarthur to win this. Ben?
I'm going Brisbane. I don't think Brisbane are as much of a shit show this year as they were last year. They seem to have recruited well, and their preseason has gone better than expected. So for me, I actually think Brisbane are going to surprise Macarthur, and I've tipped a Brisbane win.
Matt?
Same reasons as Ben, but I went a draw again.
Righto. Oh, I've gone against the grain. 3 games on Saturday. First one coming 5 p.m. from Combank Stadium at Parramatta. Western Sydney hosting Melbourne City. I've gone the draw in this one. Matt?
I actually went Western Sydney. I think first game of the season at home, the crowd will play a big part of it. So, Western Sydney, unfortunately.
Ben?
I've gone Western Sydney as well. They've got a lot of fight in them, and I've caught a little bit of the highlights from their preseason matches as well, and they are going into tackles a lot harder than they previously. I think Stadge has set them up quite well, so I've gone Wanderers.
And correct me if I'm wrong, Western Sydney picked up Gussie Thurgate?
Yeah.
And so that means they've got Stevie UG and Gus Thurgate in their midfield?
That's correct.
Yeah, I thought so.
4-0. 4-0.
Second game, 7:35 p.m. from Melbourne. Victory hosting Auckland. I'm wondering what Auckland are going to do this season. Obviously, didn't do very well in the Cup. But
they went all right. Right, they got knocked out in the semis.
Yeah, I know. They still got knocked out, and they still were the A-League premiers. So is that going to be early signs of a second season syndrome? I don't know, but I think Melbourne are going to be slightly better than they were last season, and I think Auckland maybe come back into the pack a little. So I'm going to pick a draw for this one as well. Matt?
I actually went Melbourne again. I think they've had a couple of late recruits that are coming to the squad to bolster it, and I'm a big believer in the home crowd advantage, especially first round. So Melbourne.
Ben?
I've gone Melbourne too, and pretty much the same reasons as Matt. They've recruited really well, and that crowd on the first day of the season is going to be huge. So I've gone Melbourne.
It will be a crowd, but it won't necessarily be a much active support, because apparently I don't think the North Terrace are allowed back in yet. So they're still riding
it's only
passive aggressive anti-APL posts on their website. So I'm not sure. Sorry, Ben, I didn't hear that.
It's only certain people in the Northern Terrace who aren't allowed in. They are actually allowed in, but they're having a collective hissy fit.
Righto. Okay. Now,
again, as per usual.
Yeah. So the late game on Saturday night is Perth versus Wellington, and I'm actually going to tip Perth in this one because they've gone all out on a recruiting spree in the off season. They can't be as bad as they were last season, although David Zrilich is still the manager. So who knows? I'm going to pick Perth in this one. I'll probably regret it, especially against my Wellington brethren. But Perth can't be anywhere near as hopeless as they were last season. So let's see how they go. Ben?
I've actually gone Wellington. While I don't think they'll be anywhere near as bad as they were last season, I still think Perth will be bad. So yeah, for me, it's very much Wellington. Wellington haven't recruited well, but they haven't done poorly either. So I can see them really, kind of sticking to the status quo. So for me, I've tipped Wellington.
And Matt?
I actually put my tips in before the pod, and I'm regretting it now. But I picked Perth. Looking at it now, in their last 3 games, they've had 13 goals scored against them and no goals for. But one of those games was a 9-0 versus Milan, so I don't think that really counts.
Fair.
Home ground advantage, distance derby, etc., etc. Yeah, I think that Perth might get up.
Righto. All right. Well, that's. I don't think there's any other news to cover off. I think we've covered off the Damien Zane departure, and everything else is pretty good from the Jets side of things, apart from that little wrinkle. Nothing else we need to talk about? Oh, hang on. Actually, the news also came out the same day of Damien leaving. Was Rubes has returned? We got any thoughts on Ruben Zadkovich returning?
I'll be there to collect the balls from the shooting practice.
Yeah. Oh, Rosie. Well, the Zads lads will be back.
I like Rubes. Like as much as he was a Sydney FC player for the majority of his career, I thought at the time that he was in the club, like he gave us that bit of aggression that we needed, and yeah. Like it can't be a bad thing. Like he's another midfielder, so he's another like for like with Millsy, but he's going to provide. He's been a head coach in a couple of different teams that haven't necessarily played well, but I think a lot of that was like beyond his control. I don't think it's necessarily a bad move, and he's already got ties to Newcastle, so it won't cost much money. So yeah.
Yeah, look, I'm the same. Given that he's got more A-League experience than Millsy does in as far as a head coaching role, and regardless of what you say about his record as a head coach, you look at the situation he was in as far as support from his club, and I think that he will add that level of experience to the to the coaching staff. And yeah, I'm with Matt. I don't see this being a bad thing at all.
Absolutely not. And Zad's lads will be able to dust off all their old signage and start hanging them over the fence again. So it'll be fine. The ball caps will come back, and it'll be great times at Hunter Stadium. So yeah, welcome back, Ruben. And that pretty much, I think that's all the news we need to worry about covering off for this bumper episode to kick the season off. There was quite a bit of news to get into. We needed to talk about the final, so it's all good content.
We needed to get it up to that 45-minute average, for all the rounds we'll miss.
Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly right. So fingers crossed we'll be making a better strike rate than we did last season, but it'll be all down to everybody's availabilities for work and family and all that other stuff. So we do apologise in advance if it's a little bit disconnected. At various stages of the season, we record when we're all available. So if you want to put your hand up and jump on, like we've had Clarkey and Ben and a couple of other people do in recent seasons, definitely drop us a line. You can get in contact with us on the socials. We're on Facebook, Blue Sky, Twitter, Instagram, Threads. We've got accounts on all of those. They're all at Jetstream Newey. You can get in contact with us.
You can send phones a letter to.
Yes, snail mail. I'm not going to hand out my address on a podcast. Absolutely not. You can send us an email, podcast@newcastlefootball.net. Get along to the forums on the website, newcastlefootball.net. There's forums and everything else attached to that, plus all the subscription links for the podcasts and video content that hasn't been updated in ages, which I will try and get to at some point this season. But you can also subscribe to us through, all the links are through that newcastlefootball.net/podcast. You can listen to us on just about any of the streaming apps that you've got. And because we now have royalty-free music as our intro and outro, I will be attempting to get us uploaded onto YouTube for podcast as well. So we were starting to get some annoyed emails from Spotify and a couple of other places as to using some copyrighted content with our Suffragette City intro and outro music we have been using for the last couple of years, so we thought we'd better move to a royalty-free one. It sounds a little bit generic, but a little bit of a rock tinge. So if you like it or you don't like it, you got any suggestions for an alternative intro and outro for the podcast, again, I just gave you the contact details, so you can use those. All right, we'll get along to the game on Sunday, 3 p.m. at Central Coast Stadium. Otherwise, we'll hopefully be in your ear holes next week to review the game and preview round 2. But until then, vamos el Jerkos.
Come on, the Jets.
Oh, the Jets.
I wonder, that'd be pretty close to one of our longest episodes. I wonder I can't remember what our record is. I think we did nearly a 1 hour, 45-minute one. I think maybe it was a season preview, but yeah, that's...
I reckon we've probably done 2 hours between ourselves.
Yeah, possibly.
You'd ask a question and I'd forget.
Oh, I mean, when you add on like the 20-minute chat before and after we finish recording, you definitely wind up looking at a 2-hour session. Hey!